So with that further ado, I am going to get into the training, the presentation today, and we'll go from there. All right, so Create the Vote 2025. In this year, Create the Vote is going to be focused on municipal election. So we're just going to break down a little bit of what municipal election is and then get into the nitty-gritty. So first of all, for those of you who do not know what Create the Vote is, Create the Vote was created in 2023. It is a campaign to engage voters and candidates for office that centers the art, culture, and creative expression, building inclusion, connection, and more equitable communities during election season. What this basically means is that a great way for the creative sector to build our political power during election years is throughout the year is to get involved with candidates who are hoping to become elected officials. So before we are able to even go to any candidate's office and any political elected office and talk to them about the impact of the creative sector or why we want them to support our work, we try to engage with them when they are in the early stages as candidates who are running and are hoping to represent us and try to tell them why the creative sector matter and how they can be better support for the creative sector once they become elected officials. So that is the basis, the foundation which Create the Vote was founded upon. Another initiative that we have is called Let's Get Registered. So this initiative was started last year, and it is to support voter accessibility. Mass Creative works with creative workers, cultural organizations to create voter registration throughout the election cycle. So what this basically means is that throughout the year, if you have an organization, especially a youth center organization, we want to come in and do training with those groups and one, break down to them what the election mean and as well as how to get involved and how to be civically engaged. This is more of a civic engagement training more than anything, and it's something that we've loved to do. Last year, we've had the opportunity to work with about 10 to 15 different organizations to bring this training to them. And it was great. We mostly work with teens and it was amazing. So this year we are looking to do something similar to that. So if you know a teen organization or organization that's looking to get their members civically engaged, please let us know and we're happy to collaborate and put those training on. As of right now, they are free and we do love to do them and we do them after hours as well as weekends. So throughout the election year. So if this is something you're interested in, please let us know. All right. So obviously, since the starts of Create the Vote in 2013, here are some things that we've been able to do. We've built strong relationship in all level of government. As you all know, in Massachusetts, our policies, our state is functioned through local, state government, and as congressional members as well. And then there's the federal level, but we mainly try to, at Mass Creative, we mainly try to focus on local and state election. So as a result of that, we've been able to build in the state house, we've been able to have sponsors for a lot of the bills that we push out. We've been able to have advocates who've been able to who've been able to advocate on behalf of the sector in terms of like budget season and funding for the sector. And then, of course, we've been able to increase cultural policy wins. And we've even been, last year, we were able to have one of our bill included in a larger bill that going to cause more of a positive effect for our sector. We've also empowered the sector to be more to use their voice. We've been able to build coalition resource and as a result see as a effect see positive result and more members being able to elected members being able to say and understand what Create the Vote is. We even had elected officials ask us, are we going to run another Create the Vote, because when they engaged through Create the Vote, they were able to build a strong relationship with members of the creative sector in their district and able to understand the impact of the sector in their community. And that's what we look to do. Right. What is Create the Vote 2025? So Municipal 2025 is going to focus on the mayor, the city council, school committee, etc. So I'm just going to break down some of the responsibility of the mayor's office, because sometimes when we talk about municipal election, there often is a misunderstanding between what is state and what is local. So for the local office, it is run by the mayor. The mayor is the head of the municipal government. They oversee the city's department and administration. They oversee city services. They're responsible for policy making, like economic opportunities, education, public safety, and city funding. Now, these are just some of their responsibilities. There are some other things that falls under the category of what the mayor is responsible for. But when you think of mayor, I want you to think about who's overseeing the city departments and administration. And like if, for example, if you know who your chief, if who the chief of staff is for your city, then you know the chief of staff boss is the mayor. Or if you know who the chief of communication for your city is, like Boston, we have a lot of chief who oversees the department, but the people who oversees those chiefs are the mayor. So think of that. And then when you think about services like transportation or education, public safety, think of the mayor as well. You wouldn't necessarily think of your state representative. So just think of the differentiation of those two roles, because oftentimes when we get them confused, we're not asking the right people for the right thing. So wanted to make sure we clarify on that today. Um, some of the things that the mayor is now responsible for. So the mayor is not the person who does state or federal funding decision. So we would not go to the mayor and ask the mayor to give us funding for a statewide organization because that's not their responsibility. However, we want to make sure the mayor understand that in their city, they need to have economic opportunity that directly impact artists and art organization within the city. Like for example, in Boston, we have a department, an office of art and culture. So that department needs to be properly funded. So we would go to the mayor to ensure that that department receives the resources that it needs, but we wouldn't go to the mayor to ask them to make sure that a state department gets funding like those. They can, if the mayor is an art advocate, they can always send a letter to the state representative in support of it, but they wouldn't be the one that passed that. They are not responsible for state laws or policies. That's another difference. For example, again, they can always be an advocate, and because they're also constituents, they can always make their voices heard, but they are not necessarily the people that's responsible for that. So wanted to clarify on that as well. And then we have the city council. So the city council, oftentimes I find, is the ones that most people are a little bit confused about what they do, because sometimes city councilors, maybe this is a personal bias of mine. I often feel like city councilors often overpromise and underdeliver because there is confusion in terms of like what their roles is. And I want to make sure I clarified on that a little bit as well, because there are a lot that your city councils could do for you, but you just have to understand within what realm can they do what. So your city council is responsible for, they are your legislative representative for their district. So every district will have a city councilors, and then there are city council at large as well. You want to make sure you understand those, who you want to know who your city councilors are, because my favorite thing about municipal election is that most people don't often see the importance of them, but for those of us who understand how politics function, you really want to create those relationships with your local elected officials, because they are the people who make direct decisions who's going to affect your life every day. So the people you want to have the closest relationship with and you want to get to know the quickest is going to be your mayor, your city councilors, etc. But you don't want to have an issue like a noise complaint and think that you're gonna reach out to your congressional member. I'm sure they will take care of it, but the people who really could take care of stuff like that is your city councilors and your mayor. So some of the other responsibility your city council are uh, responsible for is proposing and voting on city court ordinances. So an example of a city ordinance includes laws about noise, zoning, public safety. Ordinances are usually a version of local laws that must be followed and that are implemented by the city council. So again, when you think about city council, think about ordinance and noise complaint and public safety and stuff like that. They also oversee the city budget and they vote on it. So if you do run a city wide business and you're looking for support, or you have something that you need in regard to funding, you want to go see your city councilors, because if they don't understand the investment that they're making in the businesses that's in the city, that's a problem, because they do oversee the budget, and they're the one that you want to have a first conversation with before you reach out to other state um, elected officials. Another thing that they often do that follows in the ordinance is they create, pass, and amend local laws, which oftentimes like most people don't know. So they're the folks that you want to talk to as well. And then they're advocates for our constituent needs. Another reason why I push for you to get to know your city councilors is because, again, like they are your advocates. I know oftentimes we don't get to feel comfortable to have conversation with these people, but the person that's going to represent your voice, that's going to make sure that the people in charge know what's going on, is your city councilor. So please make sure that you check out who your city councilors are. I'm gonna drop a link at the end to make sure that you can look up to see who your representative are, who your mayor, city council, and stuff like that are, depending on where you live. So that's a great place to start. All right, continuing on. And then this one is my favorite because oftentimes this one also get overlooked. Your school committee members. For a fun fact that I recently learned that I thought was amazing is the fact that in Massachusetts, our speaker, our president of the Senate or House, I can't remember right now, Spelka, she started out as a school committee member. And sometimes when people think about, I want to advocate and I want to get involved, but I don't know where to start, start with schools. Or start in city council. It's a great place to start because school committee members actually do a lot of work to make sure the education that our young ones are receiving is an impactful one. So your school committee members are responsible for establishing and monitoring the annual operation budget, the hiring, managing, and evaluating of the superintendent, establishing the vision, mission, and goals of the school district. I think a lot of the time people see school superintendent and they think mayor, and while the mayor is involved in that decision, oftentimes your school committee members are the one that's going to be making those decisions. So when you hear someone running for school committee, think about who you're putting in charge of your kids' education because they are going to make direct decision that's going to impact your children's education. So please make sure you pay attention to those folks when they are on the ballot as well. All right. So 20 Create the Vote 2025. So for Create the Vote 2025, there's a few community that Mass Creative is looking to work with. However, these are not the only communities that we're looking to collaborate and partner with. In 2024, we had a successful Create the Vote in Boston, Newton, and some other areas. But this year, we thought it would be amazing to focus again in Boston, in Newton, and in Somerville. So if I have any folks in this meeting who are from the Boston area who's looking to get involved, we're going to drop a link for you to be able to sign up and get involved. If you are in Newton or Somerville and you're looking to get involved, you could reach out to me and we can connect about what the opportunities exist for you to be able to participate in Create the Vote 2025. Now I'm going to map out what Create the Vote 2025 is going to look like. For those of you who had the opportunity to work with me on Create the Vote 2024, you know it was a little bit more intense because it was a state Senate and state representative race. But because this year, it's a municipal race, the breakdown is a little bit more simpler. So I'm gonna go through it month by month. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat and I will take a pause to answer them. I will answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. All right, let's get into it. All right, so the campaign outline for Create the Vote 2025. There's three ways that we approach the work here. We look to do candidate engagement. So what that means is that we look for folks who are going to work with us to facilitate engagement event, including roundtable conversation with arts leader, a town hall style forum, and ongoing conversation to ensure the candidates are aware of the high priorities and issues within the cultural and creative sector within the district. So again, I'm just going to talk about Boston since that one is one of our communities. When we think about the mayor department of art and culture, we think about what folks creatives in the city need, and we are going to come together and bring all the arts leader together into an art forum conversation, and then we're going to propose that the high issues that came up from that meeting to candidates who are running, and possibly create a candidate questionnaire that they can answer to then push out a forum so voting members could hear from them. So everything has like a step to it, a step-by-step process. So when you think of the first way that we aim to do this work is by making sure that there is a lot of candidate engagement. Something that is also important to keep in mind, if you already have an event that your organization does that are known event, let's say you put on an art show, an art fair, whatever it may be, there is a way that we can incorporate creative work into it. So that way we're not coming up with new ideas. It's going to take more organizing effort, but there's already ideas that is established in the event that are established that we can incorporate parts of this mission into. So we don't always have to start from scratch, and you won't always start from scratch because there's a lot of resource we've curated to make sure everybody has the support that they need to be able to do this work. All right. The second way that we seek to implement this work is through voter education and organizing. What this means is that energizing the art community to engage with the electoral process through informative, nonpartisan effort, highlighting our impact, valued, and needs to the general public. So what this means is that the Let's Get Registered initiative that I brought up earlier, it's not just enough to tell people to go out to vote. It's important to make sure that they have a plan and that they understand what voting in each election means. Every year is an election year. However, most people only focus on the bigger elections, which we understand, but that doesn't mean that the fight that goes on in our backyard gets to be ignored. So we have a lot of work to do doing local and state elections to make sure people are engaged, so that way they don't miss the opportunity to make decision on what's going to happen to them in their city and state, year after year based on who gets into elected office. So a great way to do that is to make sure that people understand what each election year means. Their voter registration is up to date. We Last year we saw a lot of issue with certain districts not being able people not be able to access their voting polling locations. So those are things that we intentionally seeks to target to make sure that everyone has a say during the election year. So think about that when you think about voter education and organizing. And again, all of these things, we have resources curated to make sure that we support you throughout. So there's never a part of this campaign where you will be doing it on your own. You will always have mass creative on the side cheering you on and providing you the manpower and support that you need. All right, the last way that we do this is the voter turnout and get out the vote. As I'm sure every organization or most people have like a newsletter and they have a mailing list in a way that they communicate with their support and their supporters and members of the creative sector in their district and abroad. So a great way to ensure that we get out the vote in that we are providing our artists and cultural organization with the materials and education that they need is to utilize the platforms that we have. We know social media is a great tools, and we know that our news letters are also great tools. So we want to make sure that the language that we set up, you incorporate it into your language to be able to set it out to your members, and they're able to get the information that they need. It's not just enough in August to tell folks to go vote, but it's important on election day to remind them and to intentionally make a plan with them. So these are the three phases that we seek to do create the vote. It can seem overwhelming at time, but again, it's quite simple, and there are ways to incorporate it into the work that you are already doing. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a breakdown for the month by month and what we're looking to do this year, and then I'll take some questions. All right. So in March and April of this year, we're already in March, and we're already actually doing a creative vote effort right now. You all are here and are learning a little bit more about what municipal election is. So great job. That is part of our creative vote effort, the education part. So now the education that you're getting here, if you want to share it out with your supporters and your folks, you can do that. So for March, we want to identify local leaders who could help us co-lead Create the Vote Coalition. So if you're someone who's in this room and you're like, Richleen, this is all amazing work you're talking about. I want to help my community. Let's do it. I'm here to help. So I'm going to put my information in the chat below, and you're going to reach out to me, and we're going to set up a time. We're going to talk, and we're going to do it. Again, although we have three communities in mind, we don't want to just focus on those three communities because there are a bunch of diverse communities across the Commonwealth who are looking for the resources, and we have them, and we want to share them. So please reach out to us so we could get the work done together. We also going to be kicking off a creative CTV 25 community kickoff to recruit more members. So know that there's going to be more of this happening throughout the month. And then in April, I'm hoping to host our first coalition community leader roundtable. As I mentioned in on the presentation before, the first way to identify what is best for the community is to bring the community to the table. So we're going to bring different community leaders into the table, have a conversation, and identify the issues. So we have a concrete issues and vision that we're working with throughout the year. So that's going to be something that we're looking to do in April. I didn't put a date down because I want to work with individual communities to find dates that work for them. So please note, if you do sign up and say you're interested in working with us for this, I will be giving suggestive dates and we could work around that. We're also hoping to do an advocacy week event for Create the Vote this year. So Mass Creative, fun fact, is going to be having Advocacy Week from April 28th through May 2nd. For those of you who do not know what Advocacy Week is, it is the week where we celebrate the creative sector in the Commonwealth, and we let the Commonwealth elected officials see the visibility of the sector. We have Creative Advocacy Day at the State House on May 30th, which is going to be April 30th, which is going to be a Wednesday. And we want your help to work that out too. So if you're thinking about a creative thing that you want to do or advocacy week that you want to do to remind members of your district that the creative sector there is still present and is still alive, is still vibrant, we want to work with you to do that. That could be your first creative effort to bring both the community and the elected officials together. So we're looking to do something for that week. So please reach out to us. We have a very fun week plan, and we hope to see you all on April 30th at the State House. That is, last year it was a beautiful showing. We had artists, we had from poets, singers, dancers. We had the governor and the lieutenant governor in the space with us. It was an amazing time. So please, please, please sign up to show up that day because it's going to be a great day. And we want these elected officials to see everyone and the impact they're having, because it's important to put faces to the cause. And it's not just enough for them to see Mass Creative, but it's important to see the people that Mass Creative represents. So please come on April 30th. We're counting on you. All right. So for May and June, in May, I want to work with you all to develop a candidate questionnaire, which is going to be sent out. Oftentimes when we have issues that we know are important to us, we tell elected officials those issues, but we don't often hear from them how they're going to respond to those said issues. So the questionnaire is a great way of saying, like, here's the proposed things that we know is impacting our community. How would you, as an elected official, approach that? And then once they get those questionnaire back to us, we would do a candidate forum where members of the community and voting members of the community and non-voting members as well could come together to hear from those candidates how they said they were going to approach the issues that we know are impacting the sector. So that would be the next phase of the campaign in May. And then I would love to launch a voter registration effort in May as well, because May is oftentimes when most of the candidates are announced, and we know people are paying attention a little bit more. So that would be a great time to push that out. And then in June, whatever comes out of the questionnaire, we have to publicize it. It's not just enough for us who are organizing this effort to know what these candidates are saying. It's important for everyone to know. So there might be people who are not able to attend the forum, but they are reading and they are paying attention to the social media stuff that we're putting out. So whatever comes out of the questionnaire would have to be pushed out in May. Again, there's no dates to determine these things because each community is going to outline their own date, but we know what month we're working within. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then we often going to have coalition meetings to finalize events and stuff, because in June we are hoping to have one of the huge events across the Commonwealth. All right. So on July 17th, we would love to see coalition partners host a collective sector joy event. Oftentimes when we think about voter registration and civic engagement, it feels like a dual topic, but there's a lot of fun that can happen with that. So we're hoping that in July, we host something that is fun. If you already have something fun that's planned for July, let's incorporate Create the Vote into it. Again, we don't have to start from scratch, but if you don't have something planned, let's host something. It would be amazing if we did create a collective sector joy event where we are not only showing and displaying the creativeness of the sector, but also are doing our parts to educate and engage members. So that is something that we're looking to do because it's going to be very exciting. And then we also looking to start preparing and pushing out, get out the vote efforts, because the thing about municipal elections as well is their primary is set up a little different than what it would typically be in a different election. So that is something to keep in mind, because in August, we're going to have to launch GOTV earlier than we typically would, and voter registration deadlines are a little sooner. So there are every election year in Massachusetts, there are two voter registration deadlines. So the first voter registration deadline to keep in mind is going to be August 30th, and that voter registration deadline is going to be for the preliminary election day, which is going to be September 9th. So something that you have to keep in mind is when the election days are, because in September, the first election day is going to be September 9th, and we're going to see that's going to be the preliminary election day. Oftentimes, members don't show up to the preliminary election, but they do show up to the municipal election day, but we want them to show up to both. So there's work to be done for both of them. So everybody should probably write down September 9th, because that's if you are in Boston, that's going to be your day. But if you're not in Boston, we could work on finding out what your city has put out in terms of like your election outline. And then once September is over, we're gonna shift into October, and shifting into October is all about finalizing a plan for Create the Vote for November. So we're gonna do a week of events in October to be able to keep the community engaged. Again, these are probably things that you already have in mind, or ideas that you have that we want to just incorporate Create the Vote into. They don't have to be things that we start from scratch. And the second voter registration deadline is going to be October 25th. So mark your calendar for that as well, because on November 4th, it is going to be a municipal election day. So that is going to be the last time that any voting member in Boston can vote. And it's probably going to be the same timeline for most members across the Commonwealth. But if it's not, because there's a special election or something like that happening, we'll keep track of that as well for the individual communities that we get to work with. So these are just the important dates that we want you all to keep in mind. The timeline is, as you can see, it's about the commitment, I would say is about a 3 to 6 hour commitment per month. But the more coalition partners that we have, the better. So if somebody has an hour to give, that hour goes toward making the commitment maybe a 2 hour commitment per month instead of a 3 to 6 hours. So think about your capacity and how we can meet you at your capacity, because we're willing to take whatever you have to offer. It doesn't have to be that full 3 hour, but it could be an hour or 30 minute, whatever it may be, or it could be your platform, which we are happy to utilize as well. So with that being said, that is the last thing that I had to share in terms of information for you all today. But I'm happy to take some questions and engage with you all now. So oh, sorry, completely forgot that I had another slide. How you can get involved. Please ignore that last part. How you can get involved. Let's get into how you could get involved, because that's what you all are here for. You could join the Create the Vote Boston 2025 list. Emily's going to drop a link for you to be able to do so. If you want to do Newton, please send me an email saying CTV Boston Newton in the title in the subject line, so that way I know you're a Newton member who wants to get involved. Or if you want to do Somerville, you could put CTV Somerville in the subject line, and I will reach out to you. You could organize a CTV coalition in your community. Of course, I will help out with that. You can support with the Let's Get Registered initiative. So let's say you don't have the capacity to do to join the CTV coalition, but you do want to do something civic engagement related in your community. Let's set up a time for me to come into your community and do a voter registration information training with your community, and that way we are making sure people are voter registration are up to date and they know what's happening and what's on the ballot for 2025. So, and then lastly, volunteer and share out our efforts. So we're always looking for volunteers for Creative Advocacy Week from April 20th through May 2nd. We need volunteers, especially from April 30th. So please sign up to volunteer. We love volunteers. We take great care of our volunteers. I take great care of our volunteers. So if you want to volunteer, please reach out and let us know. And throughout the year, there's always going to be different opportunities to volunteer with us. So you can reach out to us. You could just put volunteer in the subject line and I will know as well. But with that, that is officially the last one I had for you all. So I'm going to stop sharing screen and let's have a conversation. All right. Let me catch up with the chat. I am just gonna put my email. I see Jen. Hi, Jen. And you can feel free to unmute yourself.
Great. I have a question about whether the different areas, different cities will share information and insights about ideas that their electeds are sharing about what they want to do for the arts community, because we could be inspired by what other cities are doing.
Mhm.
Somerville's done quite a bit of work recently, but there's always more thoughts to consider. And I think that would be pretty neat to exchange notes and to say, um, Boston, Chelsea, like these areas are thinking
Mhm.
about doing these kinds of preservation efforts. Just wondering if there's a way, if you will be the connector for that or
Um,
somebody.
yeah, so for our hope is that like we get to host our coalition members in virtual meetings and in-person meetings as much as possible to create the opportunity for you all to collaborate and to work with each other. However, one thing that we do often see is that like an issue that's impacting Boston may not be impacting you in the same way and may not be impacting Somerville the same way. So we want to make sure you have the opportunity to work with coalition members in your individual community first, and you guys make a determined decision about how you want to move forward before we bring outside voices into it. But we're happy to be the people that create the space for you all to know what's happening with each other across the sector. So it's not a no, but it's definitely something that we're looking forward to do. Thank you for the question. All right. Anyone else have any question or anything that they want clarification on? I know that was a lot, and I'm so sorry that I spoke for so long. I see Christine waving. Hi, Christine. You could unmute, and I'm happy to answer your question.
Unmute. Okay. Sorry, because I couldn't figure, I'm supposed to upgrade something and I
It's okay.
raised my hand because I haven't clicked the right thing. I do have a question. In order to persuade my representatives who vote, I'd like, do you happen to have a list of NEA, NEH, and services to museums and libraries grants that come to Cape Ann, Essex County? Because that would help me say, this money comes and we're expecting to have it cut.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass this question on to Emily.
Yeah.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay.
The funding, the grants for the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and I believe IMLS are all available and publicly available on their websites. So
I,
you can search by grant year, and you can
I
search.
know I can find them. I was just wondering if you had them. If you had them and then it makes it easier, but I can find them easily enough. All right.
And just a flag too. So that's, if we're talking about municipal elections, those are federal dollars. So again, thinking about like realms of responsibility and realms of influence. I love your point about like, if we're losing federal dollars, where is that going to be made up in the state or on the local level, but they don't have control over the
I know
federal.
we don't have control over them. It's what we're going to be missing. It's quite clear that that's going to, last time I went through this, the BSOG grant, Basic State Operating Grant to state arts agencies, was cut by 50% on average across the country. And we're probably looking at something worse. So it's going to affect all of our cultural organizations, even to our local libraries. And we're going to be expecting or hoping that others will pick it up. So, but it helps to be able to say, this is what's been coming in. this is what makes a difference. For example, I thought your idea of going to the school committee is really good because I'm the chair of the Rockport Cultural Council. And there's a lot of money in cultural stuff that is funded from the outside through cultural sources that enrich the schools here. They have wonderful cultural programs here, but it doesn't come from inside the school. It comes from, somewhat, but there are all these grants that are supporting it from different directions. And I'd like to be able to make an image of it. And if you had the information, I can go and find it, but if you had the information, it's just easier. Thanks.
Um, yeah. Anyone else have anything? I know I was going through it quite quickly as well. So if there's any slide I can repeat for you all, I'm happy to do it. Like I mentioned a couple of times throughout the presentation, all of these things happen in phases. They don't all happen at once. As you all can see, it's like month by month. And the acts every month is about 1 to 2 things that might take maybe 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many members we have supporting. We are happy to work with any members who are from any community in the Commonwealth. If you know there's a mayoral race that's happening, happy to support. So please, if this presentation will be available as well at the end for folks to be able to revisit it. So yeah, Temple,
Excuse me, Rachel. Can you hear me?
I can, Joseph. Hi.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you're doing today and everybody joining in. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I have your email correct.
Yes.
It's rcadet@masscreative.com.
rcadet@mass-creative.org.
.org. That's where I was wrong. Thank you.
Yes. We put it in the group chat as well. If you looking, let me see, I'm gonna send you a private message right now to make sure that you have it. Uh, should have it.
Well, I have Amy's too.
Perfect, perfect.
I just want to touch in case I have some questions.
Of course, anytime.
I've been working with kids, especially trying to get. I'm a professional artist, photographer, et cetera, et cetera. And I have classes that I teach at local libraries. Plus, I was president of 3 organizations, et cetera. I don't want to go into myself more, but I'd like to make sure that either young people or people that want to get into the arts and
Mm-hmm.
learn art. I teach the arts. And I just want to make sure that people don't realize how very important the arts are in a lot of ways. I also work with the health fair that they put on every year. And when they first asked me to go in, like when I first asked to go in, excuse me, they would ask, why would we need art groups here? This is all medical and this and that. And I've worked
Mm-hmm.
in medical for 25 years too. And I keep telling them how art is medicinal
Yes.
in so many different ways. And I want people to understand that. And I do a lot of things to try to get these people in that can help them. I've done a lot in my life, very fortunate to do a lot. And I want to give what I've learned to a lot of people. So that's why naturally I was born in Boston and my wife was born in Somerville. So that helps a little bit here. But seriously, I want to get it out to a lot of people because the arts, not only medicinally, are great. They let us speak. We're the only, I guess you could say, animal in the world that can talk to our past people thousands of years ago. They did something 1,000 years ago that we can listen to and hear by the artwork that they did. They're telling a story, as we all are. We're trying to get it out. So I'm letting the few years that I know get out to the people these days, including young people and middle-aged. And I have classes that I teach, like I said, and I marvel and I love seeing the smiles on their face when they learn stuff. So I'm with you on that. Maybe I'm thinking of, and I'm looking at everything. This is
Hmm.
my first mass creative that I've been at. So I've heard of you in the past, and I said, well, let me get onto this, find out if there's a way I can help or not. So please be patient with me, but I might email you and or Amy to find out a little bit more. Okay.
Yes, please do. We look forward to talking more, and I'm sure there's always a way that you could be involved. So thank you for coming today and listening. Amy and I are happy to meet and talk anytime. I'm volunteering Amy's time,
Mhm.
but I'm happy to meet anytime. Amy gave the thumbs up, so she's happy to meet anytime
I
as well.
appreciate that.
Of
I mean,
course.
I know some people here too, like the young lady who's just on talking about the North Shore and stuff like that, and the stuff that they're trying to do up there too. And
Okay.
they're valuable for a lot of areas and a lot of stuff that they do with everything they do up in Newport and Gloucester and stuff like that. And historically, they're very well known. So
Yeah.
we're all in this together, and we should help as best as we can. So again, thank you for inviting me and thank you for listening.
Of course. Thank you, Joseph. Temple, I see your hand is raised. Hi.
Hi everyone. Um, I was curious from your perspective, what does success look like? Like what in at the end of next November, what will have happened that Mass Creative feels like that went well. That was what we wanted.
Yeah. Great question. A measurable way of Hmm. Sorry. A great way we measure success in terms of create the vote is all about the coalition partners we're able to form and how empowered they feel at the end to say, like, all right, I understand what it is that was asked of me, and I know how I can get my community involved, and I did it. We've had experience where partners who work with us were able to implement Create the Vote without us. And that to us is success because they were able to learn how to successfully get their community involved doing civically during election season with minimal support from us. And that to us is success because we want to make sure people understand the municipal process, they understand the the election process, and that they are not only saying that there's issue about the creative sector that they're passionate about, but they're actively doing something to be advocating for that. And advocacy in this phase look like being civically engaged with candidates who are looking to represent you. So we work with the coalitions to determine in their ways, because every area is going to have a different measure of success for this. But for us, if when we think about success, we think about the people we're able to bring to the table, how they are able to support one another, and how they're able to understand the impact of what it is that we're doing. And of course, amongst other defining ways that the coalition decide to define success. So that could be we successfully implemented 2 events throughout the year. And those events was able to have X amount of people, and those amount of people were able to register or check their voter registration status. Um, it could be like last year, I had the goal of doing at least 4 to 5 Let's Get Registered training, and we exceeded that goal. And because of that, we were able to talk to teens from the age of 16, which is the earliest teen could register to vote in Massachusetts, and folks all the way up until in their early 30s and plus. And we were able to talk about them, to talk to them about civic engagement, and that had an impact. We had a session where folks were writing letters to their legislators and having conversation. And obviously doing advocacy week when you all are able to help us to host meetings with your legislators during advocacy week to have this conversation. Those are success to us. So it's not one specific thing, but the coalition usually are able to define that for themselves and set goals for themselves that makes it even more measurable. Thank you for the question. Anyone else have any question for us regarding Create the Vote 2025, Let's Get Registered, or any of the things that was shared today?
Oh,
Hi, Christine.
hi, do you have, I'm actually new to Mass Creative, and I'm just wondering, do you have image campaigns that other people have done, models, things that,
You said image campaign?
yeah, things that people have done that are visual, um, effective visual campaigns to get out the vote.
Oh, yes. So we do have a Create the Vote social media page. And we also on our website are very up to date. So if you go on our website right now, you'll be able to see like voter resources that we put up last year to help with get out the vote, breaking down the ballots for folks, so things like that. And this year we're looking to do something similar. In the toolkits that we provide every coalition partners, there's a lot of toolkits that we prepare for you all. We prepare a toolkit about how to run an event. We prepare a toolkit about the communication that you send out. Everything has graphic details as well to be able to make sure that you can incorporate those symbols into your language to be able to send out to your members.
I was thinking of, it's something that we, forgive me, I'll just say my political party here, but when Trump first got in, I went to a meeting. I first just moved here, and the Rockport Dems said something, and I said, "Oh my God, we need a new ship of state." And then I thought, no, what we need is a lifeboat. And somebody sitting next to me said, "We need a fleet of lifeboats." And I said, "I know how to do that." And so in the parade in July 4th, we made a fleet of lifeboats, and they were all like common, things for the common good. And they're all on foam core. I think you can probably see this.
Oh, I love that. See,
Thank you.
these are
Yeah,
things that we would want the coalition to think about and to do. We don't set out we don't set out a concrete way of saying like you
that's
have
not
to
what
do
I'm looking
it just
for.
this way,
I'd
because
love to see what other people are doing.
yeah, like I mean, if somebody comes up with like an idea like that or want to do something like that, we're 100% on board. Like we are never against creative approaches to how we do this work. We want to see more of that, as a matter of fact. So I love that idea a lot. And of course, our organization is a nonpartisan organization, so we do welcome every political party to our meetings and our conversations that we have. So any ways that you want to creatively engage those members, where we welcome it, and those are the ideas that we look forward to seeing as well. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. It's a not, I'd just like to say, we really stuck to what's common good. And it's a nonpartisan image. It's
Yeah.
particularly,
Yes, I love that.
impact when you live on the coast in particular, but there, it's a whole bunch of things like
Yeah.
support the arts, truth matters, blah, blah, blah.
I was
Things.
gonna say to our coalition partners that because we have some coalition partners on the call, let's write that down because that's a really cool idea. I like that. And we could bring Christine in to give us even more cool idea. Christine, if you want to join one of the coalitions, please do, because that was a great idea. I like that a lot.
I think marketing people, is there anybody in marketing in this group? Haha. Well, those are the people who know how to do it and launch campaigns. So it's not just like, I mean, we've used lifeboats for a lot of things. So we fill them up with different things.
Mm.
But they always have a slogan on them, of what it's containing and what it keeps afloat for us. So Jen Harrington, are you part of Mass Creative? Nope. How do I find you?
I put my LinkedIn in the chat in the
Okay.
introductions.
Temple Gill also. Let's see. Gee, thank you.
Christine, where do you live?
Rockport.
Rockport. Okay, yeah, perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I know that I had this meeting set from 12 to 1 p.m. And I've enjoyed the conversation and everything you all have shared with us. Please know there will be a follow-up email with the recording of this meeting. So if you want to revisit it or have any question, if there's someone contact information that you needed that you weren't able to grab, let us know. We're happy to do a mutual connection and introduce you all. So thank you all for coming and spending your lunchtime with us. Please be on the lookout for more information, and we'll be in touch soon. But really grateful you all were able to be here and participate in this info session. Please, again, sign up for our email list because we are sending out a lot of things your way, and we'll keep them coming to keep you all informed. So thank you all for being here, and have a great rest of your days and week. Bye.